Roger Brooks has helped nearly 2,000 communities across North America and in Western Europe with their downtown development, branding, tourism, and marketing efforts during his active 35-year career. He enthusiastically helps people turn their communities into great destinations for businesses, residents, and visitors. One of his most popular programs is the Destination Assessment, which shares Roger's practical approach, humorous stories, and real-life examples specific to our community to inspire people with innovative ideas and the confidence to make a difference. Founder of Roger Brooks International Incorporated and the Destination Development Association, Roger is the author of the book, Your Town, An Amazing Destination. He is the former U.S. Travel Association board member and is a certified speaking professional. Roger's motto is a statement by Ralph Waldo Emerson: "Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm." Here to share his enthusiasm as well as the findings and suggestions of his assessment for our community is Roger Brooks.
Thank you, Lander. How is everyone? All right. Sorry, we're starting a little late. Some people were headed over to the fire department where this was originally going to be, and we need to reroute people here. So I spent a couple hours of time, and we have been here this entire week since Monday, and in the back, behind, there we go, there's Natalie and Jane. Go ahead, you guys, stand up. They've been here. Women really do most of the secret shopping because they account for most of the spending, which is really true. And so we got here on Monday, and we have been secret shopping Sunnyside the whole week. We didn't get any information from the city, from anybody, other than where we were supposed to be this morning. They didn't tell us where to stay, where to eat, nothing. So there was no input. We came in just like anybody else. And we've been doing this for quite a while. We've done more than 1,700 communities in 45 states across Canada, Western Europe, Scandinavia, you name it. But just to give you some background, I grew up in the San Juan Islands. I graduated from Friday Harbor High School, class of 30. So I understand small towns. We actually our business after the San Juan Islands, we lived down in the Bellevue area. And I actually took a 4-year leave from our business to go out and turn around ocean shores, which people in Seattle called open sores, because everybody goes to Cannon Beach, Oregon. And then we did 65 towns under Robin Pollard, who used to be a tourism director for the state a long time ago. We secret shopped 65 cities and towns around Washington. And then we did a plan for Ellensburg, and I actually went to Central, and then I went over to University of Washington. I don't know what's up with the Apple Cup. Do you have Cougar fans here? So Walla Walla, we worked in Walla Walla when they went. We said, we've been known as a prison town. Now we're known for onions. We want to be known for wine. So we were part of that process. We did a plan for Blaine, and then we worked in Moses Lake, and then we worked in the Tri-Cities just 3 years ago to do all their branding, redesigned the entire waterfront for Richland. Friday Harbor, we went back up to my hometown, and then we secret shopped all of Bellingham and Whatcom County, and then there's the Richland project, and now we're here in Sunnyside. And Jane, actually, my wife, grew up in Bellevue area, and we started there, and then we moved our business down to Olympia for several years. I went to school at Central, then the UW, and I did my internship for the Seahawks. The first year they were in the NFL. So I became good friends with Steve Largent, Jim Zorn, and that whole crew from back then. And we love to see that Seahawks spirit here in Sunnyside. So when we do this, that gives you some background. First thing we did is we looked at all your marketing. We look at websites, search engines. I'll show you a little bit. Was it good enough to get us to come to Sunnyside? And how do you stack up against everybody else in the Yakima Valley? I mean, you're not the only city here. There's quite a few. And so we looked at all of this stuff. But what we've been doing since Monday is actually Secret Shop U. We came down 82. We looked at signage, gateways, wayfinding. You're going to see a lot of this. What was our overall first impression of Sunnyside? What about downtown? We're going to concentrate a little bit on that. And then what about things like parking, restrooms, washrooms, information? What is there to see and do here? And how is customer service? When we do this assessment, it's not all tourism. We look at Sunnyside. Is this a place we would want to live? Raise a family, retire? What is the quality of life like? And then, is this a place I would invest in, start a business, expand a business? And then thirdly, would this be a place I would come for more than just a day trip? And so with that, the first thing we did is back home, we planned a trip to Sunnyside. And of course, what we did is one of our senior shoppers called and they got the Yakima Valley travel guide, which handles you. And was a 2-page spread in there about Sunnyside. And it mainly promotes your 3 major events. But one thing you need to know is my friend Chris Watkins that ran the Tri-Cities Convention Visitor Bureau came up with this whole 300 Days of Sunshine in Eastern Washington. I asked her about it when we were working there a couple of years ago. She goes, I said, where did you come up with that number? Because it's not true. And you're not fooling anybody in Western Washington. She goes, well, what we did is we took 1 year and we just marked on the calendar every day the sun came out, even if it was only for a couple of minutes. Just so you know, we live in Phoenix now, which it barely gets 300 days of sunshine. And so when you say come to the sun, we don't have to go past Clay Elum to do that if we live in Western Washington. See what I mean? So you have to give us some other reason. And so that was one thing. There it is. Seattle does get 70 days of sunshine a year. And of course, Eastern Washington gets 200. So you do get 3 times the sun. But what happens is all of Eastern Washington always says to Western Washington, we have 300 days of sunshine. Everybody in Western Washington goes, yeah, right. And so we're trying to get people in Eastern Washington to give us something besides we're sunnier. And there you go. That's a good selling point right there. And then what do you have that makes this worth the special trip? Because sunshine isn't the only reason we ever come to Eastern Washington. And by the way, we flew into Portland because you're pretty much Portland, Seattle, either way, and we didn't have to fight mountain passes coming from Portland. And so once we got that, tucked away in the guide was this about the Yakima Valley, but it also talked about Sunnyside, showed where you are compared to Prosser and Zilla and Toppenish and Yakima. And then it had a little bit more. Sunnyside right in the middle of it all. But you know what? Middle of it all doesn't mean anything either. I remember when Port Angeles was promoting that they're in the middle of it all. I go, you're not in the middle of anything. But it's still, what is there to do? And so we did see that. We got this lower Yakima Valley pathway. This was in their Centennial. We never did find this. We don't know where it's at or what it is. But somewhere there's a Centennial pathway, but there's no signs or anything. And then we got that. So these were all tucked in there. We also went onto websites. We looked at Sunnyside's website, and the mayor was touting the fact that you're doing a video and for Sunnyside, which is great. And then we did look at the Visit Yakima Valley website, which was actually one of the better ones in promoting people to come here. But we also look at things like TripAdvisor to figure out what is there doing. Number 1 on the list is Step Cellar Wineries, Cote Bonneville, so you can see there's the list. And we also looked at where to stay. And by the way, TripAdvisor is the most visited website for visitors in the world. And this is the list of restaurants. And yes, we ate at Snipes. And yes, we ate at Bonvino's. Yes, we ate there twice. We ate at Green Olive, El Valle, and El Conquistador. We ate there. And so that was all our marketing. So with that, we felt like, okay, we're ready to go. So we came into Sunnyside on Monday, and we did stay at the Best Western. But even at the Best Western, we would ask, what is there to do here? And it was met with kind of a lot of sarcasm. So there's obviously an inferiority complex, in Sunnyside. But when we were there, we by the way, when we were driving in Monday night, we took the first exit, the northern exit near Yakima coming down, And we never could find downtown Monday night. We don't know where, we didn't have any clue where it was, and we were trying to find it. And so we did stay there, and he handed us a map that from the Chamber of Commerce that has been copied so many times it was barely legible. So what you're going to see in these is that little number 1 up there is a suggestion. There's no recommendations in this because we never talk to you first. We don't want to come and tell you what you should do when we never even had a conversation with you. So we call these suggestions. But one of the first things you could do is create a nice little map like this. At least we could see on 82 and the Yakima Valley Highway that most of your stuff is in between the two. But it would be great if people like the hotels had a little better map that better defined where downtown was and where some of your activities are. So Monday night we did eat at El Valle, and it was good. It has a nice atmosphere. They had a mariachi band in there. That I think there was a party or something going on. It was really pretty fun. And so we did that Monday, and then we went back, and we decided, okay, Tuesday we're going to dig in. So first thing we did is we said, let's go back out to 82 and see if we can figure out what's in Sunnyside. And on Tuesday, it was a little bit foggy, but it says Sunnyside next 3 exits. And then we go down a little further. It says Sunnyside Outlook 1 mile. And then you can see up here, we got the Veterans Park. So that's cool. So now we know there's one attraction in Sunnyside. And then we went down, but when you get to this exit, it no longer says Sunnyside. It just says Outlook. And we're going, is this... And so, you know, if you ever talk to Washington DOT, you might ask, you know, I don't know why they didn't put Sunnyside on there since it's a tad bit larger than Outlook. So that was a little bit confusing, but we did take the exit, and of course, we were right there at a feedlot. And so we see Sunnyside to the right and Veterans Plaza to the right. So we started coming down the Yakima Valley Highway. On our way, we saw Step Cellars, and we remember Step Cellars is one of those top things on TripAdvisor. So we drove and drove and drove until the road ended. We never found it. We didn't know whether it was down that way, so we thought, you know what, maybe it's up there. So we drove up there, and we never found it up there. We turned around, drove clear the other way until we saw Evans Fruit and Rattlesnake. We never saw that. We never found it there. So we went back to that intersection, and then it says no trespassing, no entrada, danger, pesticides, keep out. And so we figure it must not be down there. Does this winery even exist? Does it? Where is it? Nobody knows. But all the signs say no trespassing, keep out. There's no signs that say there's a winery there. Nothing. Okay? So, once again, is if the winery exists, get better signs. If not, take down the signs that say Step Valley Vineyards or Cellars. See what I mean? So we're in Sunnyside now. One night, we get up the next morning, number 1 on TripAdvisor. All we see is keep out signs. Now, we heard from a couple people that it no longer is open. So if it's not open, then somebody should go into TripAdvisor and say, by the way, this is no longer open to the public. So depending on who you talk to, you don't even know. So then we decide, okay, well, we'll go back to the highway and head down towards Sunnyside. And of course, then we see signs like this, which is fine. But one thing is, when you see a sign that says, welcome to Sunnyside, and we see lots of trash and stuff, people judge the book by the cover. I would hope that sometime you'll do signs like this and change it to this. This is in Gig Harbor, and we love this one. It's very organized. It's easy. You can see when Kiwanis and Lions, you can see when they meet. And do something a little better like that. But always, whatever's around these signs is how we're going to judge you. So in this case, it's not bad. It's a little cluttered. And by the way, people have like 4 to 8 seconds to read all of this, and it's too much because you got churches and auxiliaries and everything. But we thought, boy, it's got beautiful landscaping there to the left. If you see this right here, we got, oh, that's really beautiful. We thought if you did one of those signs like Gig Harbor and put it right there, it would make a much better first impression. So these are just suggestions, but then we saw the sign, Home of Bonnie Dunbar, which is great. And we actually went online to learn more about her, and she was one of the most prolific astronauts in U.S. history, which is really cool. She's now down in Texas, but she has a great story, so that's great. So as we're coming, we never ever saw any sign heading south that told us there was a downtown. So as far as we know, what we see on the Yakima Valley Highway is downtown Sunnyside. How would we know any different? So we went down, then we thought, okay, let's redo, let's you know what? Let's go ahead and get back on 82, and this time we're going to take the second exit. So we took the first one, and it didn't really lead us anywhere except down the highway. So we went all the way back out, and then we saw, okay, now here's downtown, city center, next exit. So, of course, we took that exit, and there was a sign, and we went this way, and we love that. I think that's cool. We love cool stuff like that. And we saw it, and we drove a little past it. We could see the Sunnyside, welcome to Sunnyside sign right there. So, okay, downtown's got to be that way, right? So we knew we needed to go through that intersection. And then while we were there, we thought, you know what? And by the way, this is a really great sign. But one thing is wherever we see a sign that says welcome to Sunnyside, we are going to judge your town by whatever's after it. So it says welcome to Sunnyside, and then we see warehouses and stuff like that. It's not really good first impression. What I would do is, I'm not telling you to move the sign. You know what I would do? Watch. I'm gonna redo your sign. There you go. Now, by the way, we didn't know whether you turn right or not. We're just guessing here. But we thought if you did that, when you add something like this, and we had them do this in Ellensburg, but when you add downtown right, it says, you know what you're telling people, don't judge us yet. You still got a ways to go. See, so you're welcome to Sunnyside, but don't, you're still not there yet. And I would probably, the pumpkins, I'd probably swap those out for something more Christmassy this time of year. And then, by the way, we drove these things several times, and there's a little tiny sign right there that we totally missed the first 2 or 3 times we did this. And so, but there it is, a little tiny. And by the way, it's so low, you would never read it if you're in a car. Signs have to be 3 to 4 feet to be readable in a car, and that one's like 2 feet above the ground. So we did pull in there, and we could see this nice map, and we thought, wouldn't it be great if you had brochure distribution mounted there? Like the real estate holder brochure, those are like $10. But a Yakima Valley guide and a best of Sunnyside, I'm going to tell you about that coming up. We want you to create a new brochure that promotes the very best. And so this, you could mount one over there, you could mount one over there. But the thing is, if we're in town, we can't take this with us. So it'd be great if there was a little map like the one I showed you, but better, and then those 2 brochures. So once we come off Three-Way, we've got some. But one thing we noticed when we're doing this, we said, okay, we're going to start by going to the Visitor Information Center. So we thought, okay, well, let's head downtown. So we keep going straight, and we get to this intersection. There's nothing anywhere that says where downtown is. So, of course, we went straight up through neighborhoods and zigzaggy roads and everything. We never found downtown because you don't have any wayfinding. And so, I mean, that was very, very frustrating. So now here we are, we're 2 for 2, 0 for 0. And so then we went back to the freeway and decided to start all the way over. And this time we went all the way south. We kept going south. I think it's south, or is it west? But we kept going, and then we finally saw what this might kind of be the end of Sunnyside. And so we did see Black Rock Creek Golf Course. But the problem is with these signs, and by the way, it seems like Pepsi must own Sunnyside. I never saw so many Pepsi signs in our lives. And so we saw this, but there's so much words. And we got Pepsi, casino, restaurant, sports bar, golf, Black Creek Rock, open to the public, golf course, Pepsi, Doc's Pizza, dine-in takeout, Pepsi, Doc's Pizza is now open. And it's so much that I thought, you know what happens is most people, when you see signs on highways for anybody in business, you have 4 seconds. If I was them, I would take all of that and just do something like that, really simple. Because there's so much words on there, it took us a while to figure out that there was actually a golf course there. And so 35 words on those signs. And so doing something like that would be much simpler. One thing is, I don't know what it is about Sunnyside. Why does everything have to be gray, brown, and beige? I had some color, and so this doesn't have a whole lot of curb appeal, but now, one thing that I will take into consideration, it is December. We're not secret shopping you in July when things probably look a whole lot better. And but to us, it looked like these places are closed for the winter. Is it open? It is closed. See, and there's nothing that says we'll be open in the spring. It just says pizza's now open, and you go there, and it's not. So this is really, it's like frustrating for visitors. And of course, we understand the golf course wouldn't be open, but rather than just course closed, why don't you put, we open every spring in April or May, check here, give us a URL, a website address, something that invites us back. Now, but it does look nice even this month. And so right across the street is Tucker Cellars. Now, we don't know whether it's open or not, but we thought even if when they're open, you know how people put a little change that says open, or they'll even put open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5, whatever. They'll put their hours there. But you can see the lights on, and you can see they've got, the light is on there. We've got, there must be the hours or something there, but we've got, oh yeah, they are open. So we see this sign right here, and of course we've got that little sign. We've got the open flags are there. And you know what? We heard they're out of business. They've never opened this week. We kept trying over and over and over. So does anybody know, is this place still operating or is it closed? It's closed. So that's really sad. But here's the problem. Now we're 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 if you count the golf course and the pizza place. And we're just going, okay. And so somebody should go there and get rid of the open signs, put the open sign. If somebody would just go there and put closed, that would be great. But instead, what you're doing is you're frustrating your visitors. And even their website says it's open this is like yesterday. Tasting room was open 10 to 4 daily. It was never open 10 to 4. So you can start to understand that if people are coming into Sunnyside, it doesn't matter whether they're an investor, whether they're looking for a place to live, or whether they're looking for a place to vacation or spend some time, we're going like, well, we couldn't find downtown. The first 2 wineries in Sunnyside are both closed and don't appear to even be in business anymore. And so those are the kinds of things that are really frustrating that could be fixed if somebody would go down to Tucker or talk to them and just put on their website, maybe we sell online now, we no longer have a tasting room, something, or just go down there and cover up the open signs. You'd be doing a service to your visitors and people that are trying to spend money in Sunnyside. So we went back and we did see a nice trail all along the Yakima Valley Highway that looks really great. But we couldn't find any signs that tell you how long it is, where it connects to, what's it called, where does it start, where does it end. And so, we just thought if you could have a little sign at each one of these little rest areas would be great. We did see that it must be another winery somewhere in Sunnyside. That's out on 82. As we're driving up the road, we did see this lower Yakima Valley pathway. But the sign is all about who paid for it, not about where it goes, what the experience is. There's no information. So this is another thing. You know what? If you can get people to spend 2 hours in Sunnyside, spending doubles. So you say you should walk the pathway, or maybe you rent a bike, or if you have a bike, but there's no information. So going up the highway, we did see the Sunnyview Park, which looks gorgeous. Even in December, you can see we had leftover snow there. And you know what? My first thing is, why is the skate park not where anybody lives? And these kids don't drive. I'm going, this should be right in the middle of downtown. And so, but still, it's nice. It's a nice amenity. I just thought it was in the wrong location. And we're trying to add life to downtown. And then here, of course, it's closed, but up there it says it's open every day. And so we didn't know if it's just closed every winter or if it opens, you know, it should say we're open spring, summer, and fall every year if it's closed all winter, but once again, there's no information. And so, and as a matter of fact, I tell people all the time, get rid of every single closed sign and just put, we're closed from first snowfall through spring, whatever. But invite us back. Don't just say, go away. When we see these, even on retail stores, it's go away. So we turned around, and so now we're heading back in towards town. And we do see this one, and we thought this was perfect. It's in a good location. We love the wall there that kind of hides all the industrial stuff. The street trees, this was a good impression. We would love to see you add more of these rock walls in some other areas, getting up closer. Just help screen, and we love industry, so I'm not putting them down. Those are jobs. But it would be nice if you expanded that. But that was really nice, and it's in a nice location. We love the signs. The Sunnyside signs we thought were awesome. Our biggest frustration was that none of these complete the process. So if you turn left to find Cope Bonneville, good luck with that. It's 1.5 miles down there somewhere, but none of these signs ever finished the job. And that was very, very frustrating for us. And then like this, see this downtown? We drove by that like 6 times. Number one, it's like camouflage. It's kind of got green and orange. It almost matches the yellow sign down there. And so what happened is, and it's set back, you know, a little bit, but we missed these, and they're only if you're going towards town from this. Am I speaking south or from the west? I can't remember which way 82 goes, kind of diagonal. But we totally missed that. And if you turn left there, good luck, because there's no other signs. And so that was a big challenge for us, was that. And then even little things like this, we got these hodgepodge, like if I go back to this, we've got, you know, over here, City Center, Little Air Museum, Library. I mean, none of the signs match or anything. So it's either frustrating or like when you tried to find downtown, it was very agitating. And the laundromat over there put the right word out there for us. So, with these first 16 suggestions, the number one priority for the city of Sunnyside is to do a wayfinding system. If you want your downtown to succeed, you got to tell people where it is. You got to do a better job than just tacking some signs on a telephone pole and having downtown signs that don't match. A wayfinding system, it's where do we find visitor information? Public restrooms, public parking, police, fire, community services. I mean, you need to tell, we saw somewhere there's a museum, but there's no directions how to get there. Veterans Memorial, local parks, I mean, wineries, your community center, sports fields, all of these things should be included in your wayfinding system. And wayfinding is always uniform. So like this is Modesto, California, 1, 2, 3, 4. You never put more than 5 items on a sign. This is Woodlands, Texas. You know, it looks like a place called Woodlands. Appleton, Wisconsin put these on existing power poles. That is about $750. It has an aqueous coating so that graffiti won't stick to it, ice won't stick to it. It's on existing power pole. And they put up 18 of these, and their retail sales went up by nearly 20%. And so it plays a role in your branding. By the way, anybody who does wayfinding will see a return on investment. It's not an expense. So it'll tell you what you're about. It's a component in your marketing efforts. It reinforces a positive experience. It increases spending locally. And it educates your visitors and your locals about what you got and where it's located. And it helps build community pride. And by the way, this is not a public works project. This is something, wayfinding is something that's for experts. And there are wayfinding companies out there that do a great job of it. So studies show wayfinding will increase sales surge between 14 and 28%. Like we said, we couldn't even find downtown. And so, and by the way, navigation systems are not a substitute for wayfinding. Here's why. And I'm going to give you a town that's pretty close that does a really good job. This is me rubbing it in. Even if we had navigation system, I would have never known that they even had a historic downtown, that there is the Clore Wine Center. I would have never known. Wine and Food Park, we would never know to search for those things. See what I mean? So wayfinding, navigation systems only help us look for things we know exist. This tells us about things we didn't even know you had. So I would go talk to Prosser. This is one of the best we've ever seen. And by the way, look, they even have their website on there. I would go say, hey, who did your wayfinding? We need to do that here in Sunnyside. If you want increased tax base, and every city wants increased tax base, this should be your number one priority. Help us find stuff. And we'll spend more time and more money in Sunnyside. So we have the Destination Development Association, which is free. All you that have businesses should be joining the destination. It's free for the next 13 months. There's no obligation, and there's videos on how to do all of this. So we're going up and down the highway, and I have to tell you that the highway is not exactly a showcase. And being from the Seattle area reminded me of Aurora Avenue North. It gets pretty, but even blowout signs like this, if I was a city, I would have an abatement program, and if signs like this are vacant for more than 180 days, you take it down and you charge them. Because it just makes you look like you're a dying town and not one that's thriving or doing well. And so those are things that just says, wow, this town is not doing very well. But sometimes you have to be a little bit heavy-handed. Business like this now, in the case of Daniels, there's a lot of garbage off to the left. We did see the garbage guy come and dump out the dumpster, and then they did put the other garbage in it yesterday, but they need a bigger dumpster. And I would put a fence around the dumpster. I would actually dig out along the wall there, like 18 inches, and plant some shrubs there. Anything to soften the building so it looks like a nice place to eat. Even buildings like this, you just go, oh my gosh. And we've seen cities do abatement programs that say, look, if you don't do anything, if this building is now in violation of every code, you tear it down or we're going to tear it down. Or you're going to repurpose it and bring it up to code. And I would give them like 180 days or even a year. But you know what it's doing? It's making your town look like a blighted town and not a desirable place for people to live or visit. And so I know a lot of times the property owners probably don't care. Well, then sometimes you have to be a little bit heavy-handed and somebody has to do something. Because you know what? What about the neighbors around them? Even stores like this where you have that reader board off to the left, take it down if you're never going to use it. And what happens is with a lot of these stores, they just don't have a lot of curb appeal. You know what? We all travel. Have you ever said these words? Oh, that looks like a nice place to eat. And we judge a book by the cover, fair or not. And so now this person does a great job. Taco King there, he rolls up the garage door. He's got picnic tables out in front and planters there. And but look at, if I was living here, I don't know that I'd buy anything from this glass company. It looks like they haven't changed their sign since the 1950s. And so these are the first impressions. You live here, you don't even notice this stuff, but visitors do. And we're sizing you up. And there's competition with Walla Walla and what the Tri-Cities are doing and what Yakima is trying to do. Places like this, we assume that this is already gone, done, dead, and no longer open. Am I right? It is open? We had no clue. It was always dark. We thought we've got Grupo up there, But, I mean, we didn't know if that's Groupon. I mean, nobody's taking care of the billboard, and we thought for sure it was closed permanently. In Sunnyside, if you don't make it obvious, we're going to assume you're not open. So what we have is we have a planter here that's totally dead. There's nothing in it. Nobody, this is all weeds. We got a chair out here facing the wall. Somebody must have gotten in trouble and said, you go sit in the corner. We've got, I mean, this nobody's using this. I mean, do you blame us for why we came to that conclusion? We thought, absolutely, it's been closed, gone, done. And then, no offense, but when you do this, our first reaction is this town is not safe, which I don't think is really true. And this is next to a residential area that's actually pretty nice. But when we see this, they do make 3M. 3M makes it's called security, and it's a film, security film, 3M security film. And you can put it on your windows, and they can't break through your windows. But when you do this, it just says, we're not even getting out of the car here because it must not be safe. So Bob's Drive-In looks great. I mean, that place was always busy. Of course, Pepsi, once again, they own Sunnyside. But here's the big statistic. By the way, you know people in this picture? Right, go, oh, I know her, yeah. So look at that. Curb appeal can count for 70% of first-time sales. 70%. So with this, I want to take a little side trip just for a second. For the very first time in American history, and this is true in Washington State, jobs are going where the talent is or where the talent wants to be. So rather than you say, oh, the jobs are in Puget Sound, the companies in Puget Sound say, if the talent is in Sunnyside, we're going to go there. First time ever in U.S. history, jobs are going where the talent is or where the talent wants to be. So that means community development, which is quality of life, is leading economic development and tourism development. You know, and I always say, welcome to the age of placemaking. And we're going to get into this. But here's the second thing. You could market Sunnyside till you're blue in the face. Marketing will bring people here once. So when I went to the city's website and I saw the mayor talking about we're creating a video for Sunnyside to promote Sunnyside, when they come here, is their experience going to be what ours was? And that will only bring us here once. The only thing that would ever bring us back to Sunnyside is your product. And that is your assets, the wineries that are actually open, your great restaurants. We're going to talk about those. What else do you have for us while we're here? Your museum, historic things, and the people we interact with. And so those are so important. This is why I'm really harping on that highway now. And by the way, I haven't gotten to downtown yet. And so while we were on the highway, we did go over to the mall. And malls across America are really in trouble. They're dying everywhere. But as a matter of fact, 1/3 of all the malls in the United States are scheduled to close by the end of 2019. Now, I'm not saying yours is, but I got a great idea. If you ever get a chance, I don't know if anybody here or if you know somebody that works for the mall or manages it, I would send them over to Crossroads Mall in Bellevue. Crossroads Mall in Bellevue could not outcompete Bellevue Square, which is one of the highest end malls in the northwestern states. And so what they did at Bellevue Square is their mall was pretty much dead, but they made it into a community gathering area. It's all full of little restaurants and everything. They call it the public market. It's almost like Pike Place Public Market. And they've got entertainment there. They've got a stage. They've got these big chess sets. And that mall is booming. And now QFC is there. A lot of people are there. They bring in entertainment. I mean, it is really cool. So, that's it for the highway. I would love to see additional street trees going up and down the highway. Now, I understand this is Department of Transportation's property, but fencing to screen industrial areas. Businesses need to do much more at making their storefronts appealing, because we can't tell who's in business, who's not in business. And you know what? When I hear people say, go to a city and say, city, what are you doing for me lately? My first reaction, what are you doing for yourself? You know, a professional wayfinding system needs to be designed and implemented. So then we decided we're going to get off the freeway. So we stayed at the Best Western. We started going out there. We did find the cinema. Looks fine. We love, by the way, this is the coolest orthodontic dental place that we've probably ever seen. We would take our kids there in a heartbeat with all the animals. I mean, they did such a good job with the curb appeal, the signage and everything. You just want to go there even if you don't need dental work. Look at it. It's awesome. But then in that area is this. I mean, if this was in a different area, how many of you would ever eat there? And by the way, is this still in business? How would you know? There's not one shred of landscape. There's just absolutely nothing. It has zero curb appeal. So once again, I'm going to keep pushing this. But you know what? This right here is in Wisconsin. That is asphalt all the way up to the building. All they did is they put down some synthetic turf. They put out those planters right there in the front, and they put some tables, chairs in there so you know that they're open and in business. But I just don't understand how now you as locals, you don't care what it looks like. You'd go there. You know what? If the food's good, you're going to go there regardless of what it looks like. But for us newcomers, we go by curb appeal. So while we were out there, we found a little tiny sign somewhere that pointed us to an airport. So we thought we should go check that out. So there it is, Sunnyside Municipal Airport. You know, but when we first pulled in, does this airport still operate? I mean, you're just going, by the way, it says no unauthorized vehicles beyond this point. But we've seen all these, look at this. And I mean, look at the paint, look at everything. I mean, by the way, that's the airport lounge. That's downright scary. I mean, maybe, I mean, add a pot there, add a pot there, add a pot there, do something. I mean, that's pretty much gravel. You could just plant a few things there. I mean, how about some paint? You know, you could just go get half barrels. These are in Leavenworth. You know, they're just half barrels, and they plant them, and that's it in the spring. This is it in the fall. Just anything. And by the way, we could go back to Daniel's and go back to the Asian restaurant, the Chinese restaurant. We could go back. They could do the same thing. You're in wine country. I bet you there's a lot of barrels out there that are past their dates that you could get. And by the way, when we see your tax dollars at work and what's in front of us is a bunch of tumbleweeds, and by the way, that was 15 years ago, I think you could take down the sign now. So when you're at the airport, and we did see the little visitor information kiosk, but there's nothing on it. So we thought if you could add, once again, the Yakima Valley brochure and maybe a Best of Sunnyside brochure, I am coming to that, then you could mount it there. So you've got that. So anybody coming up to fuel their planes, there's no phone numbers to call to get a taxi or any kind of transportation. You don't know if there's any lodging in the area. Just, you know what? Other than wayfinding, I haven't told you one thing that couldn't be fixed for like $100. The other side does have a map, but I can't take it with me. You know what I mean? I might need that if I'm going to leave the airport, but I don't know if I can leave the airport because I don't know who to call. There's no information. So that was a little bit like, boy, come on. The hospital looked great. You know, when we came off that middle exit, we did see the community center right here. And you know what? We thought it was phenomenal. But we'd love to see the splash pad downtown. We want to make your downtown should be your living room. Instead of having things, we got stuff way out of town down here, and we got this over the community center. I think that's great. And I'm not saying get rid of it. I want you to build another one. And so, and Natalie, there's Natalie there. She had a great time. It was her birthday yesterday, so she had to celebrate. And but it's a great community center. We did find the Port of Sunnyside, the operations office, and all the industry that they're doing. And I have to tell you, with the Port of Sunnyside, we were super impressed with the jobs. And now we're only seeing it from superficial, so we don't know what maybe you see. But the Port of Sunnyside development looked like nice office buildings. There was a lot of industry. But you know what I saw is a lot of industry in Sunnyside. And my first question is, I wonder how many people work here will actually live here. Because the last thing you want is people working here, taking that money and taking it back home to Prosser and Yakima and everywhere else. We finally found Yakima Valley Tech. We found that because we're just driving around. Most people probably never find it. And it looked like a great place for education. Most of the neighborhoods we saw were actually very nice. We saw they were well kept, well maintained. We had no problem. We went out on a couple country roads and went, oh my gosh, that these are, I think this is on, is it Coons Road or something like that? Schoon Road. Yeah, I mean, it was like, whoa, really nice. I mean, so we really saw a mix. But overall, we thought the residential neighborhoods looked really nice. It was the commercial areas that were really kind of like, eh. Even your schools looked amazing. After 2 or 3 days, we started to figure out when the buses were, right? You probably all do that. And so, but the elementary schools look good. And the fact that they're all kind of clustered around downtown in that area was great. Chief Kamiakin, we saw, on and on, Pioneer Elementary, the middle school, even the high school, loved them. We thought the schools in Sunnyside are great. See, once we're off the highway, all of a sudden we're starting to see a different Sunnyside that's a whole lot better. And so that we came up with this. When you're away from the better we found it. Schools look nice. The parks look great. There seems to be a lot of job opportunities here. It looks like the port is doing a great job. Neighborhoods are well kept and maintained. People that we talked to seem very nice. Until we got downtown. And I'm coming to that. So far it is, I'm sure glad we got off the highway. Even though there was no wayfinding to help us. And so that led us to this. What about downtown? And so I want to give you the 12 fast facts, and I like that number 12 because it kind of goes with what we all like here, most of us, the Hawks. But here's the 12 facts. Tourism is the front door to your non-tourism economic development. So that means anybody that's going to open up a Walmart warehouse or a factory or anything, those bankers, site selectors, real estate agents, business owners, they're coming here first as what? A visitor. Is this where I would want to live, where my employees would want to live? And you saw my first impression so far. It is the purest form of economic development because people come, they spend money, and they leave. We like that. And by the way, if any of you ever had, where's the nearest Costco? Yakima? So if you ever spend any money in Prosser, Yakima, Richland, Tri-Cities, you know what? That's leakage. Tourism is a way to help fill the leakage of your money that you earn here being spent somewhere else. And it's the fastest growing industry in Washington at $20 billion a year. Are you getting your fair share in Sunnyside? And then the first rule when it comes to tourism, how do we get people to stop on 82 in Sunnyside rather than go straight to Prosser? By the way, Prosser is like what? I can't remember, like 6,000 people, and you're like 15,000. You're like 3 times bigger. And look at their downtown compared to yours. See what I mean? So how do you get people to stop in Sunnyside? And then if we can get them to spend 2 hours spending doubles, but the goal is if we can get people to spend the night here, wouldn't that be cool? They spend 4 times more than just day visitors. And by the way, the number one activity of visitors, it's not the reason they come, but once they're here, the number one activity, that they do is shopping, dining, entertainment, and pedestrian-friendly intimate setting. Just go to downtown Walla Walla. And if you were here long enough, 30 years ago, Walla Walla downtown was dead. And now look at it. And by the way, that is where 80% of non-lodging visitor spending takes place. This is why they put downtown Disney outside each of its parks, to get that 80%. So, here's the other one. 70% of all consumer retail spending takes place after 6 p.m. Natalie and Jane had to run down to Walmart the other night for something because they're the only place open, and it was barely walking room in there. Because the rest of your business seemed to close at 6, other than a few bars and restaurants. That is big. And then, the best things that bring us here are private sector. I mean, Orlando and 175 attractions, they're all private sector. But it's all the wineries that you have in the Yakima Valley. It's all private sector. So, there is a focus on downtown because that's where I'm headed next. They're critical to your success. And there's a good statement. The heart and soul of any community besides its people is its downtown. So, if you don't hang out in your downtown, neither will visitors. And we didn't see you hanging out in your downtown. We could have shot cannons down your downtown street in the middle of the day and not hit anything, except when school buses were running. You got to bring downtown to life. And by the way, downtowns are back and in a big way. But the future of downtowns is where we go after work and on weekends. We're at school during the day. We're at work during the day. We get done, and then you're closed, and you force us to go to Yakima, the Tri-Cities, or to Walmart. I mean, this is the future of downtowns. But here's the other thing. There's absolutely nothing more important. So as a city, for you on the council, city staff, downtown should be your number one focus. Site selectors, you know what they do? They go into your downtown, and the health of your downtown economically is how they judge the health of the community. And we went in your downtown, and it's about 50% vacant. And so as we're driving around, we thought, look, and there's this downtown Sunnyside, woohoo! But it doesn't fit any kind of a system. So remember, we came in the entry, and I said, hey, look, visitor information. Chamber of Commerce. So because there's no wayfinding, this just points us in the general direction. We did go online and found it, and so we went to the Chamber of Commerce office. So now we're like 0 for like 5 or 6. So now you got to go back out to the sign out there that says visitor information. You got to go change the sign again because there is no visitor information there. But you know what you could do? I don't know who owns this, but if you could even just put a kiosk there with brochures in it, then you don't have to go change the sign. And even if it's private, say, would it be okay if we just put a little real estate brochure holder there and dropped our brochures in? It would be great. But and so we go online, and then we start reading the sad story about the Chamber of Commerce. It's like, oh my gosh, this poor town. But that's how we found downtown. And so we actually found a nice downtown. Obviously, there's been a lot of money spent making it look great. The museum looks terrific. I mean, it was really cute. It was a little sad that it's so seasonal because people are here this time of year. They're here year-round pretty much. And but one nice thing, we love this sign. It was awesome because it says, "We love you, Sunnyside, but our doors will be closing until next spring while we reorganize and create new exhibits. The museum will be open during these special events." They did a great job. They invited us back. They said, "We love you, and we hope you'll come back because we're changing our exhibits." I thought that was awesome. It was the only thing we saw that ever invited us back. So we went right across the street. We did see the log cabin there, and we read the plaques. They're a little bit hard to read, but you know what? The whole bottom part of this plaque right here is about who donated it, who created it. I wish we would have loved to have seen a little bigger interpretive sign that really talks more about the history of Sunnyside. That would have been really cool. Just a little bigger sign that would even go into more depth than Ben Snipes and his ranch foreman. And that would be great. We also saw Central Park when we were downtown with the play equipment, and the aquatic center looked awesome. And granted, we get it. We're here in December. We didn't expect it to be full of water, but it looks great. We wish that the building would have some color. Once again, why does everything have to be brown, gray, and beige? And so for us, it was, add some landscaping around it, but it looks like an awesome place. So we were really, good schools, a nice aquatic center, a nice little museum downtown. And we even saw the little park here. We thought, man, it would be great if this had more, that playground equipment that's way, way out of town. I thought, man, why don't you go grab that and put it right here? So while we were downtown, this was really interesting. We saw signs for truck routes. And I'm going, why do you route your trucks through residential neighborhoods? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm going, why don't you route your trucks back out to the highway or somewhere? But we started following the truck routes, and sure enough, they went right through the middle of residential neighborhoods. We were shocked that you do that. And so when you do your wayfinding system, I would absolutely change those truck routes so you're not going through neighborhoods with big trucks. But then there's this sign. We finally saw this sign. I think this is on 16th or something, downtown Sunnyside. And here's the problem with that is it's way too tall. And so what happens is, first of all, it needs to be lower down. Typically from a car, you want between 3 feet to about 6 feet is the viewing distance. And that one's up there. So we missed it the first couple times, but then we got hospital sign, we got museum sign, a library sign, a downtown Sunnyside. I mean, it's just a hodgepodge. Once again, why you need wayfinding system. Loved the statue of Bonnie Dunbar. And I think that your public art in downtown was awesome. So you've got some great little things. But then, here's the sad truth, is that you can spend millions of dollars making downtown beautiful and it'll still be dead as a doornail. From what we read online stuff, the city spent nearly $3.5 million to make downtown beautiful, but the other half is still missing. And that's what's in the buildings that makes you a draw. You know what? If Carnegie Hall was right here in Sunnyside, the beautiful architecture, the lighting, the chandeliers that are hanging in the back. I mean, this is the velvet-covered seats, the frescoes on the walls. No matter how beautiful Carnegie Hall is, would you go there if there was nothing happening on the stage? Because that's what you have downtown. You made it look nice, but it's still dead as a doornail. The city did their part, but the private sector didn't play along. And that's really sad. That's the sad. By the way, I've seen towns everywhere spend millions and millions of dollars doing streetscape improvements, but it's what's in the buildings that makes you a draw. So it's not a waste of money if you can get the other half to come in and do some things. So I thought, I'm going to tell you right now some suggestions that can make Sunnyside an amazing downtown. That'd be all right? Here's what you do. The very first thing I would do is create a 501c3, and I would call it Destination Sunnyside. A destination for your local residents, destination for visitors, destination for business. I would create, you don't have a chamber of commerce. I don't know if there's another nonprofit you could use. We need some kind of organization that would probably include these people. You probably want your mayor, your city manager, the port, a council member, 2 or 3 downtown property owners, a couple of 2 or 3 business, Yakima Valley Tourism, Arts Commission, Historical, Lodging Tax Advisory Committee is that LTAC, school districts, Parks and Rec. You need this team. And I would put together this team. then the very next thing I would do is with that team is put together a business improvement district downtown. And this way it's a public-private partnership. And when I say business improvement district, that means the business downtown are willing to tax themselves to help make downtown better. You can't just rely on the city to do everything for you. I mean, you have to be in charge of your own domain. So even today we heard, there's differences of opinion, what a council member may say. And for me, businesses, you're in charge of your own future, and so you got to help yourselves. And that's what this does. So you create this, so it's a public-private partnership. Then the very next thing I would do is blade signs. Let me explain blade signs. Can you tell me what's in any of these shops? There's no signs. How about if we're standing here, we look down the street, can you tell me, I see there's a sign way, way, way up there. Can you tell me what's in those? Blade signs are perpendicular signs to us. If I'm looking down here, can you tell me what's in any of these shops? There's no signs. These are blade signs. That's in Leavenworth. By the way, they make it really simple. Chocolate, collectibles, trains, restaurant. When we're walking down the sidewalk or driving down the street, we see signs that are perpendicular to us. And not big, high, fluorescent. They're like this. That's in Nantucket, in Massachusetts. Or like this in Carmel, California. Or this in Canmore, Alberta. There's your rules. No lower than 7 feet, no higher than 9 feet. I've worked in towns that don't even allow them. And if that's the case, Sunnyside, then change your ordinances. Retailers need perpendicular signs. And if you make them consistent height and size, you're not going to create sign clutter. Because like this sign, way, way, way up there, the only way I can see that sign is if I'm way down here or across the street. It's way too high to be seen out of a car window. And if we're anywhere near that awning, it's way up there at the rooftop. And so by doing these, you would have them down lower and a little bit smaller. They'd look nicer, look more modern, and would pull people into the doors. Because that's like impossible to see. This is me out there almost falling over backwards trying to take a picture of that sign way up there on the roof. And by the way, signs are always built to 100-mile-an-hour wind loads, because I can hear that excuse coming up now. Oh my gosh, we can't do that. If the signs fall on the sidewalk, the city would be liable. Wrong. It falls under their insurance. These are in Lethbridge, Alberta, and they're built to 100-mile-an-hour wind loads. They were just putting them up. So you can see if the business changed this still, you can just change this. They were just putting that one up. I mean, signs like this are just not really helping very much. I mean, it's like, I don't know what's happening here. And so that's number one, blade signs. And that's pretty inexpensive. Here's the next one, is beautification. Here's a big statistic for you, is women account for 80% of all consumer spending, 80%. And they want to be in places they feel safe, that they feel welcome, that's alive with people. And so notice, what do you see there? See the guys? I have two words for you. Think benches. Why do we put front porch swings? Why do we put these things on our porches? Because it makes our home feel welcoming. So shops need to do that. So in downtown, I would absolutely take all these benches and move them up against the facade. Nobody wants to sit there looking at a car 3 feet in front of them and people walking behind them. Move the benches back to the facade, and then plant benches, put pots on them. That bench could be back here on this facade or even the next facade. Always do it just like a front porch, and then do that. There's Jane being a model. You can tell she's kind of like, whatever. But that is what you want to do in your downtown. It makes your businesses feel welcoming. Okay? City put the benches there, I would just move them back. Here, I put a bench on that side and on that side just to make this store feel more welcoming. We don't know what's open and what's not. We don't know who's in business, who's not in business. The only way you know is if you make it obvious. And so I think that would be great. You know, it could be as simple as that. This is not a restaurant or anything. They just put that little table, 2 chairs and the pots just to make their shop look welcoming. We took that in Minnesota, and the same with this one in a little town of 5,000 people. You know, because there you go. Golden Pheasant. I imagine it is permanently closed, right? Okay, so see what I mean? We don't know which ones are and which ones aren't. And by the way, I know it's December, but that's not an excuse. I actually went on Google Images of Sunnyside downtown in the summer, and it didn't look a whole lot different. I mean, that's in the middle of the winter in Ontario. You know, this is in Ontario. I mean, all these, they're dried boughs, you know. I mean, there's just no excuse. All of these are in the middle of the winter. You know, and if you want me to, you know, just rub it in, go back down to Prosser. You know, look what they do. They extend window displays out there. I mean, these places look great. I don't know why Prosser gets it and Sunnyside doesn't. And then we also believe that merchants should always get 32 inches outside their storefronts for beautification. Benches, extending window displays out. And that would be really nice if you would start doing that, because this is all, there's just nothing to soften the transition between all the concrete and hardscape and your street front and your storefronts. I mean, look at that. That's in a town of 10,000 people, Canmore, Alberta. Or look at that. I mean, just doing that. I don't know why your merchants don't do that. Or even that. Or even doing that in front of a bakery. I mean, if Pepe's Bakery downtown looked like that, there'd be a line out the door. And so once again, and if merchants aren't allowed to do that, then you need to change the ordinance and say you are allowed to have 32 inches to put displays out there, a little table, chair, anything. And I didn't see any of your restaurants doing that. That's like $200. So for businesses downtown, extend window displays to exterior spaces, do blade signs, benches and beautification. You can buy benches for $79. I mean, the city already has them. Just move them against the facades. Doing some facade appeal, window displays, sidewalk dining, all those kinds of things. You could even do this. This is a little town in Texas. And one of their merchants said, we got to do something with our storefronts. So they went around and said, would you donate money? We're going to go to a local nursery at the end of the season, and we want to buy whatever pots they have left over at a big discount. Would you help us? Somebody gave them $5. Somebody gave them $200. I think the average donation was like $40 or $50. They took the money from all the merchants that they could, and they went down with a flatbed truck to a wholesale nursery and said, look, it's the end of the season. We'll take all the pots if you can give them to us for pennies on the dollar. Their rules were they had to be 21 inches opening on the top, but if they had a nick, a crack, or anything, we'll take them. They didn't have to match. We just want them inexpensively. So they went and got this flatbed truck, brought back all the pots, put them on a side street and said, merchants, help yourselves. They didn't say you only paid $5, you only get one. They said help yourselves. So like this merchant grabbed like these right here. You see they look similar. This one grabbed these. You can see there's some white ones here, and they just lined them up. This merchant grabbed these two. Then they went to youth organization, high school football, cheerleaders, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, any youth or band, any youth organization that was looking to raise money. They dumped a load of topsoil on Side Street and some rock and some landscape fabric. And said, okay, kids, here's what we want you to do. We're going to pay you a few $100. We want you to put rock in the bottom of the pots, put a layer of landscape fabric, and then fill them full of soil. And then what they did in the winters, they filled them full of pinwheels because it was too late to do any plantings. But if you notice in all these, almost all the plantings are evergreen. So we're not doing annuals and all that. It's less expensive. But what they did, they never had a case of vandalism because kids protect things they take ownership of. They thought those as their own. And so They did, and so they took care of them. I mean, look at that. It's got the blade sign. There were some pots left over, so they did a grouping. How cool is that? Because if this was in a different town, would you want to walk down that street? There's no incentive. I mean, can you imagine if that street right here looked like that, which is in Leavenworth? And by the way, can you imagine Leavenworth? If they took away the beautification, you might say, oh, it's a Bavarian town. The beautification is one of the primary reasons why it works. So it's not just the gingerbread. I mean, they go out of their way to do that. This is in like October, November, December. Look at this little town. Notice the city did the curbside beautification, similar to here. Notice the facade sides, before, after. Retail sales went up more than 30% just doing that. But the merchants need to do it. If you create a business improvement district, that business improvement district would do it for you. Because most of your shops do absolutely nothing to pull us in the door. And they're great shops. I mean, this is one shop that's really, it's got the nice pot there, it's got the snowman, the flag, it's nice decoration. But the problem is when you're walking by, what you see is an awning that's falling apart, paint that's getting kind of mildewy, paint that's falling off. I thought, boy, if this merchant would just put a pot, a bench, a pot, a bench, a pot, so you have 3 pots and 2 benches, make all the difference in the world. Because it's a great shop. I mean, this kind of stuff, there it is, 3M, safety and security window film. And when you walk up to places like this and they're all padlocked up, you just go, okay, so this downtown is not safe. And that's really sad. I mean, this one here looks a little bit better because it's more decorative, but it's still like, during the day, he actually opens these up. And it's really, we saw this right here and went, it's a really nice jewelry store, but gee, I wish it looked like this one down in Prosser. It's the same family. So he runs this one and his wife runs the one in Prosser. You know what our first assumption is? It must be a lot safer in Prosser than it is in downtown Sunnyside. Wouldn't you draw the same conclusion? So, beautification. That looks fabulous. And by the way, there's no trash receptacles downtown, so people are using the money you spent for these. These are all full of garbage. Every one of them is full of garbage because there's no trash receptacles anywhere. It's like, frustrating. And then another thing your businesses do is really no weapons allowed. You know what? People that are carrying weapons, do they really care what your sign says? But the problem is you make it seem like Sunnyside is not safe, that you have to have a gun-free zone in some of your shops. And by the way, I have restrooms for customers only. You know what? Never say no. Instead, tell them where to go. Tell them where the public restrooms are. Don't just say go away. And so when you do that, we're closed, no weapons, restrooms for customers only. It's like, go away. And I just think that merchants do the wrong thing. You know what, McDonald's? 70% of the people that go into McDonald's to use the restrooms buy something. Half out of impulse. While we're here, let's something to eat, something to drink. The other half, guilt. They call it guilt sales. We use the restroom, we better buy something. And so, see, I saw this in just 2 weeks ago. We were in another town in Wisconsin. I said, instead of doing that, why don't your merchants just do that? Please stop in. Here's our shop hours. It's so simple. Look at this is, and by the way, for all of you that have business, tell your friends that have business, never more than 4 posters or flyers in windows. Research shows that when you approach 4, people ignore them all. So at Pepe's Bakery, we've got, 1, then we got the little tear-offs. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got the open side 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Plus we have the signs right here, 11, 12. And then we have like 13 signs there. And so We just ignore them all. So if somebody brings you a poster to hang in your window, you know what you need to say? Then which one do I need to take down? And by the way, businesses should be charged with cleaning their own sidewalks. This whole thing about it's the city-owned sidewalk, they should clean up. You go to Europe, any city in Europe, you will see every single morning the merchants hosing off their sidewalks, sweeping their sidewalks. We saw one merchant doing it. But the city could also do its share. These are like cherries or something that I almost slipped and fell there, but it's like, it doesn't seem like anybody cares about downtown. And I know that's wrong, but that's what it felt like. Then, here's right downtown, another one of these signs. Just start getting rid of this stuff. So, I already told you that. And I already told you that. And the big deal is, are you open? Here's the deal. We're becoming more and more like Europe. In Europe, the average time they eat dinner is 9 to 10 o'clock at night. In the U.S., it used to be 5:30 to 6. It's now 7:30. We're moving later and later, yet your retailers are closed. We want out of our cars in a pedestrian experience. We are in the age of third places. And I know that about 80% of your population is Hispanic. And this has worked in Mexico, in South America, in Europe for centuries. The first place is the place we call home. The second place is the place we work. The third place is the place we go to hang out. And your downtown should be that third place. It's the little sidewalk cafes. Heck, Starbucks built an entire brand out of creating third places. You go spend $8, get a cup of coffee, and stay there all day. It works. And by the way, going back to the way it used to be in Sunnyside ain't gonna happen. Going back never happens. So there's 3 statistics. I call them the 7-8-7 rule or the 70-80-70 rule. There's the first one. 70% of first-time sales come from curb appeal. Women account for 80% of all spending, and 70% of that spending takes place after 6 p.m. So downtown, we saw a little gallery. Virtually no signage, but have no clue when or if it's ever open. It just says, call so-and-so and a phone number. We had to work hard to find places to spend money in Sunnyside. When it comes to parking, I would take down these 2-hour parking. Right now, I would be begging people to come park downtown. Take down the 2-hour parking until you need it. And then when you need it, and that's our goal, when you need it, then say 2-hour parking here, all day parking, next right. And where it says free city parking, I'd put all day parking, free all day parking. So, what comes first? If you want downtown Sunnyside to be a great destination, Walla Walla, what Prosser's doing, what other towns are doing, what comes first is getting people downtown 250 days a year. So how do you get people to come downtown Sunnyside 250 days a year? You have 3 major events. That's not enough to maintain one single business. Here's what I would do. See this area I put in yellow? I would make this your core downtown area. Right there. I would say, let's concentrate on this area. And you can see there's Centennial Square right there, so Safeway is right here. But I would make this your key area and say, okay, what can we do to make this place really cool? And I saw all these vacant lots. And this one, it's just right over there. But I thought, let's concentrate on this one, these right here. And I thought, let's concentrate. Now, Centennial Square isn't vacant, but there are places that you could activate. So I thought, what if this one right here, right across from Centennial Park, what if now this is probably privately owned. So here's what you do. You go to the property and say, we, the city of Sunnyside, would like to lease this piece of property from you for $1 a month. We'll maintain it. It'll fall under the city's umbrella insurance. And we want to put a temporary skate park there. And here's the deal. If the property owner, the goal is for the property owner to call you and say, I need the skate park out of there in 90 days because I want to build a building there. That's tax base. That's the goal. So you would put down, you might pour a pad here if it's going to be a skate park, because downtown skate parks are awesome. Your skate park is so far out of town, I don't know how kids that go into school could even get to it. And so these are really cool. And these you can buy portable. So this is what you see out of town. And I thought, man, pick this up and move it downtown. You know, where the people actually live. You can go buy, you can get grants or sponsors and this is like a portable skate park. So you could go get these ramps. Yeah, you probably got to put down paver stones or some kind of flat surface because these are skateboarders, or even pour concrete pad. You're improving the person's property. That's why they're leasing it to you for $1 a month. And you have a 90-day out that they can tell you to leave. But all those, that's all temporary. Then we saw this and went, oh my gosh, this would be a fantastic year-round public market site. And I kept going, particularly if like that turned into a restaurant, and over there, can you imagine if this was a restaurant, you could open up and put windows and doors, and if this was a restaurant, you could do something really cool there. These are just wild ideas. And I thought, and here's the Performing Arts Center, so you're right there. You've got great pieces there. And I thought, what if? I don't know who owns it. We don't know any politics. Remember, we haven't talked to anybody. But I thought, what if you could do that? So what you see here is this in yellow are like paver stones. What's nice about paver stones, you can pick them up and move them somewhere else. This here, these are little Catalina umbrellas, like outdoor dining, like 4 people around, so that's umbrellas there. These are like vendor booths, like a public market or something. It could wrap right around. These are street trees. There might be even a building could be built right there. Then this could be a great public market. Something like that. I thought, you're agriculture. That's your whole industry. You know, it's really funny because we want Richland to do this. Nobody in the Tri-Cities area, in Yakima Valley, which is the biggest growing region in the Northwest, has any kind of a farmer's market other than pop-up markets. What if you had a building like that? You could roll up all those garage doors during the summer, and it's just an open pavilion. Inside, it could be like this, and you've got farmer's market, jewelry, crafts, gifts. You have a lot of small little businesses here that don't really have a place to sell their wares. I thought you could do something like that. You can always reconfigure it. Inside, when it's full of booths, this could have room for like 85 booths. And it's farmer's market, but it could be a Christmas tree market. It could be a Halloween thing. It could always change. And then, you know what? If you clear it all out, you could do all kinds of shows. You know, think about this. That's the most visited tourist attraction in the northwestern 5 states. Nobody in the Tri-Cities has a year-round public market. And by the way, even in the winter, people will walk in there when it's freezing cold and they'll walk around the market. And you might have, if I go back, there's some permanent, you might have a little food vendor there, a food vendor there. Those are permanent. And then all of these are temporary. And you got another little one right there. It actually creates another one right there. It's a business incubator. You know, I thought, okay, if you don't want to do a public market, wouldn't that be a cool plaza? If you had a splash pad right there and an ice rink in the winter, here's vendor booths, street trees, you might have an eatery, a restaurant. How cool would that be? I'm going to show you an example. Oops, I put this in here twice. Once again, we're moving to this standard. This is what we want. So cities everywhere are starting to develop plazas. And people with the Hispanic culture know it, because if you go to most of the cities and towns in Mexico, in South America, you're going to find cities are built around piazzas. It's where the locals hang out. They take empty spaces like this. You can see it from ground level, and they turn it into places like that. Might be a splash pad in the summer. By the way, you can shut this all off and you can fill this full of tables and chairs and do movies or concerts. Out here is all kinds of vendor spaces. And you know what? If that doesn't work, there'd be a perfect place too. I mean, right now it says no parking except for it says customer parking only. It says customers to what? But you know what that looks like? They just did this in Caldwell, Idaho. And that is now open. It's really cool. And their downtown was in tough shape. So doing something along this line in downtown Sunnyside would be fantastic. And you know what? Did you hear about the plaza in Yakima? Failed. And I'm just going to say it. It's the worst designed plaza I've ever seen. Everything about this plaza was done wrong. Number one, it's all chopped up and angular. I mean, number one, it's a poor design. It's a city park. It's not a plaza. That was their first mistake. I mean, it's got all these pieces in it and raised. I mean, it's a place you can go and sort of hang out, but you can't program it. It's not configurable for changes, and I'm going to show you. And it was they wanted $12 million. They could have done a plaza in Yakima for half the price. That would have been better. And it's not monetized properly. You know what? You go to Europe, plazas are simple spaces. Go to Mexico. Plazas are simple spaces. It's what you put on them that makes them a draw. All you need is a simple space that has paver stones in it, so water, snow can go through it. Let me show you one example. This is a bigger city, but this is Main Street Square in Rapid City, South Dakota. That was an empty Sears building that had pigeons living in it. I told them, I want you to take this parking lot and turn it into a plaza. Don't even bother making up the parking. Turn it into a plaza. This is it before. This is it after. It changed everything. I mean, it is that a guy bought that Sears building and said, you know what? As a matter of fact, I showed you those buildings, said if those were restaurants. A guy called me way back here. I told him to tear down that Sears building and build a 2-acre plaza because that parking lot's about 1 acre. I get a call. Roger, this is Ray Hillebrand. I just want to let you know that I own property downtown and we're not tearing down that Sears building because I just bought it. And I gave the city $2 million to build a plaza next to my new property. It was smart because that's all full of restaurants and shops at twice the going rent. Because the city is bringing people down to this plaza. This is on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. I mean, they had a beer garden going. You could see the fence there. It's always configurable. These things light up at night. I mean, they have a little splash pad there. They can shut those all off if they want. I went up on this little parking garage and just photographed. There's the Sears building. It's now full of restaurants and retail shops. You can see the stage off to the left. You know, it's and they didn't even design it the way they would be the first day we would redesign it. But this is it during the summer. Splash pad is going. There's lawn area. There's a band on the stage. People everywhere. This is it during the winter. That's about 8,000 square feet. It's bigger than Rockefeller Center. They make $130,000 a year just renting ice skates. And they have to dole them out because it gets too crowded. And even every night, the water feature goes with LED lights and music. And it's packed. Look, they do movies under stars, summer nights. Imagine if you had a plaza in downtown and you had people hanging out in downtown Sunnyside. I almost said Sunnyvale. Sunnyside. If you had people hanging out in downtown Sunnyside, you would have no retail vacancies because where people hang out is where retailers go. And if they're hanging out after working on weekends, the retailer's going to be open because you're bringing customers to their doors. And so I kept going. And then also car shows and everything started going there because of Main Street Square in Rapid City. Look what somebody wrote. They do movie nights. They do movies on the square every Monday night. The average attendance is 3,500. Somebody wrote, I grew up in Rapid City, it was never as cool as it is now. Wouldn't it be great if your high school students would say that about Sunnyside? So downtowns need to move away from events to activities. So if you had a square and it had a little, that, by the way, that's in Boulder. It's just a little tiny splash pad, but you can't believe how popular it is. Doing things like this would be fantastic. But you know what? Can you imagine having these? You can buy these on Amazon.com for $700. Get a bank to sponsor 3 of them. And you put them out. You do it 2 weeks. I think your plaza should change every 2 weeks. This one here is done with paver stones. They didn't even have to buy those are all just different color pavers that make the chessboards. How cool is that? Bring downtown to life. Get people to donate foosball tables. You can even get these things, the chess sets. You know, I mean, you need a storage space, yeah. But doing these things in downtown, just bring it to life. Wouldn't it be great if the people in Sunnyside, let's head downtown, I wonder what's going on downtown tonight. And it's always changing. You know, I mean, look at that. We've seen this happen in small towns everywhere. And by the way, in this case, I said, what, don't people just take the chess sets and vandalize them? I said, number one, the manufacturer gave us a bag full of seconds. So if we're missing a couple pieces, and they said, generally they don't get vandalized. If we're missing pieces, we eventually find them in birds' nests. Birds take them. But can you imagine getting these Jenga sets? They're 4 feet tall. Doing 2 or 3 of those. Imagine ping pong tables like this. I mean, look at this. This is pretty inexpensive, but right there is a foosball table. There's another foosball table, and over there's a ping pong table. I was in the Indianapolis airport a couple months ago, and there was ping pong tables in the middle of the airport. You can even do portable bocce ball courts. I mean, even downtown New York City, they've got ping pong tables. Can you imagine having a square where you have a yoga or an instructor on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings doing free yoga out there on the square during the summer months, or Zumba classes, or Tai Chi. In the winter, you can go rent, you can even work with a vendor who will rent you an ice rink, or you do synthetic ice. It's pretty amazing. And by the way, look, the bank paid for it because they care, because they want their business to succeed, because that's where they're loaning their money to. Can you imagine going and buying a few of these and putting them downtown on that square? You know, that's a fire pit. You buy it on wafer for $370. You get banks, you get schools, you get whoever to start sponsoring these things. You know, you could have hot chocolate and cider vendors down there. I mean, can you imagine getting Imagination Playground? They make all these things. They're like Lincoln Logs, but made out of foam. You know, I was at a place like this when they're doing these, and it was like, get out of the way, kid, it's my turn. Actually, I didn't do that, but I felt like it. But they're really cool. And you know what? Here's where they did it in a plaza. It's just so fun. And kids just love these things. And then, by the way, you can see these bins. At the end of the day, the last kids there help put them in the bins. Or you can get these clamshell cases. So you put those out during winter break. You put them out during spring break. You put them out during summer break. It's always changing. You know what? You could do this. I would love to see you have a plaza where you put out tables and chairs like this, and you do tailgate parties for Wazoo games or Husky games or Seahawks games. I mean, you could do barbecues, chili cook-offs, barbecue events. Look at this. That's 4 chairs and a table for $162 and an umbrella for less than $200. You've got seating for 4. And maybe a restaurant sponsors a table, chairs, and umbrella. Then you know what you do? I would love to see you start getting some of your food trucks and moving them downtown. So kids on lunch break can come down and get stuff, so that people are coming downtown. I mean, you've got some fantastic food trucks. I'd love to see them rather than scattered out on the highway in downtown. Now, you got to bring downtown to life so that people will come downtown, and then the food trucks will be there to help that. I think these are great. We love food trucks. By the way, I don't know if any of you ever go to Richland, but that right there is Porter and Kate, Porter's Real Barbecue. They, in Richland, had that food truck. There it is right there. It did so well that they moved into an inline, a real store on the Parkway in downtown Richland. And you know what? That's the whole idea for downtown. By the way, they sell 1,500 pounds of beef and pork every day. And they're now going to open a second location in Kennewick. I mean, that's the idea, is you make downtown an incubator for little vendors, jewelry makers. You know, there's a lot of talent in this town. I mean, just having these kinds of things in downtown would be fantastic. So what do? If I was the city, I'd have somebody full-time that all they did was program downtown once you have a place. And you go to local county fairs, Benton County, I don't care, Yakima County. You go to all these county fairs and you start talking to vendors, say, hey, we want to have you in downtown Sunnyside. You could pick whatever 2 weeks. We want you downtown for 2 weeks. And you know what? You might say, we get 5% of your gross sales, so we can outmarket the fact that you're downtown. But I would start doing that. You might even go get a few of these little vendor booths and put them out there. You know, and then you rent these to small businesses. You know, and I mean, you could add music, work with local schools. You know, downtown Denver, they put out pianos. People donate them. Do a couple of those. They cover them up when it rains. You could even bring in other vendors that might rent. The people, they'll come in and they'll do rock climbing and they charge a couple bucks. But kids and even adults love it. This here is a portable zip line. There are vendors that have these. Say, hey, we want you to bring your portable zip line into downtown Sunnyside. You can see there it is on the trailer where it stands up. Bring downtown to life. By the way, it doesn't have to be expensive. Look at this. Look at this. It's a simple space. So what do we have in the space? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 food trucks. Then notice this. They're just wood wire reels. There's a stack of pallets. Look, they're sitting on those. And look at, even the landscaping, they just borrowed from a nursery. They're in the 5-gallon pots, and they're actually for sale. Look at how they did this. This is all as inexpensive as you could get. Bring downtown to life. In Long Beach, California, they took 6 parking spaces, said they spent $3,000. They painted everything yellow. They put in all these yellow tables and chairs, and they said, we're just going to try it for 2 weeks. They put a food truck at that end, somebody speaking or an entertainer, a guitar player on the other end. They did it for 2 weeks. The place was always packed, and they said, well, okay, we need to turn back to the parking lot. And the people there that complained about it said, not on your life, we love it. We've got all kinds of videos on this. But you know what? Can you imagine if your downtown was your living room? And I'm telling you, from the Hispanic culture, where they're all about family, where generations live together and everything, this could be the best thing you do. This is not about tourism. This is about the local residents that live here, giving a place that they love and that they can hang out in. You know, we always say, well, we have this divide that Hispanic people tend to hang out differently than everybody else. Well, they're never, I've known Hispanic people for a long time, and they've never been closed-minded or close to anybody else. But can you imagine a place where you do great Cinco de Mayo and other celebrations? I kept going, could you imagine a big public market there year round? Can you imagine putting that skate park right there? Can you imagine doing a fitness park at Centennial Square and doing your plaza maybe over there? Now, you might do just one of those. And I mean, Centennial Square is fantastic, it's beautiful. I got some pictures of it during the summer. But it's not activated, it's not monetized. And I kept going, could we take this and could this even turn into, I know there was buildings used to be there, this might be a cool little restaurant. And then this could all be plaza back here. I'm sure the city owns this. This is probably all private, I'm not too sure. But I thought, could you take a place like that and even do a fitness park right downtown? This is in Canmore, Alberta, a town of 10,000. And look, Centennial Park. And they say, keeping our community healthy. And people use these all year. In the winter, they're down there with their ski gear. But can you imagine, you have climbing wall for kids, you have trampolines that are supervised, exercise equipment. Can you imagine a cool place in downtown? It's about getting people to hang out there. Wouldn't it be cool if you took an alleyway like this and turned it into Art Alley? Art Alley is back in Rapid City, half a block away from Main Street Square. Look at that. It is the coolest thing ever. As a matter of fact, they have a simple rules. No swastikas, no profanities, protect other people's art. This was full of drug needles. And now they have artisans from everywhere coming there. And they paint the buildings, they paint the dumpsters, they paint the streets, they paint everything. And it is so cool. They now do tours of it. And you know, I mean, some of the art is fantastic. I mean, it's an attraction. You know, and you know what? You got a dream. You already have some talent right here. This is downtown Sunnyside. I think that's really cool. I love the way the barber pole is in that. I mean, we saw that over there. You've got the talent here. Put it to use. By the way, they'll have crowds down there watching these graffiti artists. It's a way to bring downtown to life. Then you've created all these big spaces. They're empty. There's nothing on them. I'd fill those full of tables and chairs so people can go by. I put a food truck there. You know, and I wouldn't even worry. I mean, you know what? I wouldn't worry about if you use up parking for this. This is in Waterloo, Ontario. That's before, that's after. You might get a couple big tents you need to cover every once in a while. I mean, this is in Missoula, Montana. They did a permanent one. Weather can never be an excuse for not hanging out in downtown. How cool is that? If you can get people to hang out in your downtown, it will be alive. Look we have videos, destinationdevelopment.com. It's all free. Join. You can watch these. I call it Netflix for communities because you can stream them. You can watch them at home. You can watch them bring a group of businesses together. Downtown needs to have focus. If your downtown is about kids and family, where can we put a carousel? I mean, where do we put the water features? If you want to be about nightlife, where do we put our microbrews? You've got one. If we want to be music, do we have places where we can bring our music and our entertainment? If you want to be about antiques, you need to have a focus. What's downtown about? You know, Brea, Kentucky, it's all about art. Canmore, Alberta, it's all about mountain sports. And in their case, look at all the business. They got the Nordic Center, they got Bike Racks everywhere, they got the Ultimate Fit Center, they got all of these all play with sports. So whatever your theme is, if it's kids and family, you're going to have shops that cater to kids and family come into downtown. You know, and there's no reason why you can't do a mix. So once you get people hanging out downtown, then you need to start recruiting businesses back. And that is the rule of critical mass. And we call it the 10-10-10 rule. In your downtown, in just 3 lineal blocks, not square blocks. It could be down 6th the block, down another street block, and down 7th the block. It's just 3 lineal blocks. You need to have 10 places with food, 10 destination retail shops, and 10 places of those 20 open after 6. We walked in that whole district I showed you, and in all of downtown, which was 14 lineal blocks, you had 10 places that sold retail. We weren't sure whether they were all in business, but they seemed to be. You had 4 bars and 5 restaurants. Not even close. And you had 2 winery tasting rooms and the Performing Arts Center. Now, you had lawyers and other things. These are what we call retail, you know. But if you could do those other things you talked about, temporary plazas, simple, get people to hang out in your downtown, you will get more of your restaurants downtown. And they might start as food trucks, just like in Porter's Barbecue in Richland. And this, I'm not going to go through this, but overall, when you're done, these are the businesses I would recruit downtown, and they would do well in Sunnyside. And that includes your demographics, everything that you have. So this you'll get. We'll get you pet grooming. I mean, you name it. I mean, all these things, gym, fitness, all these Pilates would do great in your downtown. I saw this. I kept going, oh my gosh, this would be either a great microbrewery. It could be a glass blowing shop. It has plaza area all the way around it. It could be really cool. So You know what? If you do this, if you did this, you'd have people coming from Yakima because you would do your plaza right and they did theirs wrong. You could create an amazing plaza without a splash pad. The splash pads are expensive for $100,000. They're going to spend $12 million and it failed because it was wrong. Just like this right here could be set up full of Christmas trees. This could be set up for auctions. This could be set up for banquets. That's the way plazas are. It's a simple space you program, and that's where they blew it in Yakima. And by the way, if you have activities 250 days a year downtown, and I'm talking activity, not events, just chess sets, a splash pad, ice rink. Can you imagine having a splash pad for 120 days a year and an ice rink for 120 days a year? There's 240 days right there. And so we looked at your demographics. I don't care. You know what? You have like 16,000 people living in Sunnyside. I could care less about city limits. If you draw a 3-mile circle around Centennial Square, you have 20,000 people that have no place to go hang out except at home. And if I go back to that, look at that, 5 miles. If you go out 7 miles, 32.5, we're still not the Prosser. You have your service population is 30,000 people. So, a couple other things. I got one more thing that I got to go through. Love this barn. Oh, I hope it doesn't go away. It is so cool. I don't know what to do with it. We went and looked at it and everything, and it is really cool, but I love it. It really epitomizes the farming, the agriculture of your city and the area. I hope it stays. I don't know who owns it. I don't know what its fate is, but that's really cool. We also saw this and thought it would be a really cool event center. I don't know, it used to be it was a beet sugar factory or something a long time ago. It's a really cool building. It reminded me of one we saw when we were working in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Now this one has a lot more windows in it, but it used to be a big factory. Notice it's got the big trusses. It's got the big pulley trusses. And this place is so cool. And so I even thought that sugar beet factory could be a really cool place. You know, I don't know who owns it. I would work on the plazas and stuff right now, but we thought that was pretty cool. And by the way, we love the Seahawks spirit. Go Hawks. I thought they'd go 4-12 this year. I'm so glad I'm wrong. So, here's the last one. I want you to create a brochure, and it's to be called The Very Best of Sunnyside. This one was done in Alpena, Michigan, population 10,000. And what you do, and they said, I want you to promote your very best restaurants, retail shops, and activities. And so they even used me there, you can see, to write that. But they promoted their best ofs. So they created this brochure. Because, and by the way, each one of these people were asked to be in here. They were vetted. And they each paid $400 for their panel. Because the number one asked question at any hotel front desk is, where's a good place to eat? Don't just hand me a list. Wouldn't it be cool if they pulled us out and say, well, here's some really great restaurants, some really great shops. And to get past the politics, we even picked them for you. Okay? And so what happened is, now these people were selected for this. The Besser Museum was really short on money, but the other people paid $400, covered enough to help cover them. And so they had real criteria, and I'm going to give you your criteria or what you could use. But this is why I want you to create the Destination Sunnyside team. The city can't do this. This nonprofit could. But the sample criteria in this case might be they have to be highly regarded by somebody other than themselves. Like 80% positive reviews on TripAdvisor, Yelp, maybe written up in Sunset Magazine. They have to have good curb appeal. They must be open year-round. They should be open till at least 7. We might have to stretch that one for a little bit. And they have to be open 6 days a week, and they had to be unique. We're not going to put Subway and McDonald's, and you have fast food alley going down the highway. When we come to Sunnyside, we want things that are unique to you. And you cannot let politics kill this effort. Now, I want to tell you about this one. They printed 30,000 of these. There are about 10,000 houses in their county, 10,000 residents, but 10,000 households. They mailed one in a snail mail envelope to every single household in the county. And they put a little card with it that said, and I'm paraphrasing, the number one reason people travel is to visit friends and family. We hope you hang on to this brochure so that when they visit you, you will share with them the very best of what Sunnyside has to offer. Because we believe that every dining room table should be a concierge desk. Within days, people would come downtown, they'd walk into Art in the Loft and go, oh my gosh, I got this in the mail. How long have you been here? And the merchant would go, 10 years. And you know what? They handed these out at hotels. You know, this is the most important thing you could do. Now, there were people complaining, well, you picked them and you didn't pick me, and I think I'm just as good as them. You know what they said afterwards? That was the best $400 I never spent, because I didn't realize when they went into my neighbor who was in here, they also came into my shop. We go to the malls for the anchor tenants. Nordstrom one end, Penny's at the other. And while we're there, we might buy cell phone, all the little kiosks. But this made all the change in the world. So, because if I'm coming into Yakima Valley, if I could pick up one of these and I'm in Yakima, even if I'm out of the valley and I'm in the Tri-Cities, if I could pick up one of these, I would make a special stop in Sunnyside. Otherwise, we're going to go straight to Walla Walla. We're going to go to Prosser. We're going to go, I don't know, all these other cities and towns. So who would we put in here? Now remember, we've only been here since Monday, so we might not have everybody. But I would absolutely put Snipes there. Now, one thing I would tell you about Snipes is their signs are almost impossible to read during the day and even harder to read at night. Luckily, we knew by the day where they were, but it's beautifully designed. The simpler, the better. It's got a great atmosphere. People love microbrews. It was really great. And by the way, a best of is something we would drive. If we live in Yakima 45 minutes away or Richland 45 minutes away, we would come to Seaside. We would come to Sunnyside because it's worth the drive. Okay? Our very favorite restaurant here was this one. I wish they were downtown, but they were next to our hotel. But that was our favorite. Cozy atmosphere, really, really nice. The service was excellent. It was great. Next one. Mom's Candy Apples. Love this little shop. It's so awesome. We went in there yesterday, and by the way, I think we all gained about 5 pounds. But, she was so sweet yesterday when we went in there, and these are the cool little things that are worth coming out of our way for. Varietal Beer Company absolutely would be great. I wish they had more events and things. I do think they need to put a schedule in front of the place that just says we're open every day at 3 and we sell growlers or whatever. And we have, because I know they bring in food trucks and events. We'd like to know when so you would invite us back. But it's a great asset in downtown. The Performing Arts Center absolutely should be there. People love cultural depth. And absolutely it's great. Now, one thing, this is in the window yesterday and all these are over. Well, so we got, December 1st. There should be something there that says is what's happening in 2019. And by the way, it was there and said it was supposed to be open during the day for art classes or something, but it never was. But it's still a great asset. So I just hope they always invite us back. And I saw very few businesses or organizations ever inviting us back to your golf courses, to your businesses, to the Performing Arts Center. We were there after 10 and it wasn't open. Downtown, Fashion Corner. There are people from Seattle, groups of girls that will drive that 3 hours from Seattle just to go there to buy prom dresses. Now, we probably would have never gone in there because the curb appeal is terrible. The sign looks like all the paint faded away in the 70s. It just doesn't look very good. But, we went in because we were told that we had to check it out. And you know what's really cool about this? I love it. You know how somebody say no food or drink? What they did was so awesome. They put, we love Starbucks too, but not by our dresses. Please leave your drink in the car, thank you. How nice is that? Rather than say, no food or drink. That is awesome. The gals that were working in there were incredibly nice. I mean, just the kaleidoscope of color was amazing. And their website is as good as anything you would find in any urban area anywhere. The only thing you need to do is make their storefront look a little better so when you arrive, you're not going, we just drove 3 hours for this. Be easy fix. But absolutely incredible. You got to put in Bonvinos. It was great. We ate there twice. It's really nicely designed and decorated. I have an idea who probably had a hand in that. Right? Am I right? Yeah. Okay. And it's just really, really nice. I love the fact they sell local wines, which is really great. You know, by the way, back to them, I did put this up there, but the only thing that's kind of the outside of the building is kind of like 1970s mansard roof. You know, a lot of times if you lease a building you don't have, I'd like to see that fixed up. But overall, great place. Cote Bonneville was really great. Here was our challenge. We had no clue when or if it was ever open. And I think you have to call for appointment, but there wasn't anywhere to call on the doors or anything. And it turned out it was actually open. We didn't know about it, but luckily another winery downtown told us. But it's in a great, love the shop there, the little rail, I think it was a little rail station. It's really cute, but really great. But it says wine tasting, but once again, there's no information when they're open. And then, of course, we would do Coden Cellars. This is a beautiful winery tasting room, and this is actually the winery and tasting room. And he was there, and so we actually went in, did the whole wine tasting thing, and this is such a cool old building. But even this little plaza, I would put Christmas trees, do something to bring it life, even this time of year. You might not have people sitting out there, but just make it look nice. You know, but inside, this used to be like a waterworks building or something, and it still has the old pulleys in there. There's our host there, and the people that are sitting on the left, that's Jane and Natalie here, they're from LA. They're from Los Angeles. They're in downtown Sunnyside, and they're wondering, what's open? You're not monetizing it. And then I'd absolutely include this. This is the best Veterans Plaza we have ever seen. And we have seen literally thousands. It's amazing. But what made it amazing wasn't all the names. What made it amazing were the stories it told. It choked me up when I read this. During the Vietnam War, Captain Joe Hooper, a high school graduate from Moses Lake, was awarded the Medal of Honor, 2 Silver Stars, 6 Bronze Stars, 8 Purple Hearts, and the Combat Infantry Badge. Captain Joe Hooper holds a place alongside Sergeant Alvin York, Lieutenant Audie Murphy, and Colonel Robert Howard as one of the most decorated soldiers in the history of the United States. But because of the unpopularity of the Vietnam War, he was never recognized for his service to our nation, and his name was faded from the memory of Washington citizens. And I just about cried. Wow. That is awesome. All by itself, it's a work trip downtown. Now, the thing is, if we come downtown and see that walk to eternity, you're not monetizing it. So we're in downtown, and we're just kind of wandering around. We see this little thing called the mini mall. And then we see there's a sign right here, but you know, one challenge with this sign, it's like a gold on a white, so it's very hard to read. And so we turn down there, and every once in a while, and I actually did a little video on this, is every once in a while we will go to a place and we will find something that is so cool that it just warms our heart. And we found one of those places in Sunnyside. And she's here, right there. And it is French Vanilla Market. When we saw that, we went, oh my gosh, how cute is this? And so, I mean, we took so many photographs of your place. If you need something, you let us know. But just what she has done there with the decor, I thought, oh my gosh, the city should contract with you to go and help some of these other merchants. She would help anyway. But we went in there, we walked in there, and I said, and I think I said something like, oh my gosh, I don't know how we found you, you're tucked away. And I said, but this is so cute. And I think she said something like, oh, I'm so glad you're answering my prayers by finding me back here. And it was just like, we wanted to hug her instantly. And you know what? Everything about this little shop just was so cool. I mean, this is the thing that people in Seattle would die for. That's the cutest trailer I've ever seen. But just what she did. And so I asked her, I said, so where'd the name French Vanilla Market come from? And she told the story about her dad, and who passed away, but he loved French vanilla ice cream. And she goes, you're going to make me cry. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're going to cry too. I mean, it's very seldom you can come into town, and when you meet real people that are here, her family's here, she grew up here. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. See, I'm making her cry. We said, we're not here to make you cry. But it's just like, there's our shoppers. But this little place is 480 square feet. It's one of the best stores we have ever seen. We travel 250 days a year. We have secret shops 1,750 cities and towns around the world. And every once in a while, you find a cute little shop and a really nice shop owner who bends over backwards to make a great experience. And you know what? We went in there 2 or 3 times, and every time we went in there, her 480 square feet was packed full of customers. And rightfully so. I mean, it just, if you put these things in a brochure, all of a sudden, Sunnyside looks like a fantastic place to come. Now, you have about 20 or 25 Mexican restaurants. We did not get to eat of them. Some were probably more authentic, but I didn't have pictures of it, but we added El Conquistador. It was our favorite of the couple we ate at. And then, of course, the French Vanilla Market. That brochure right there makes Sunnyside worth a special trip. Right there. It's the best thing you could do. And I'm telling you what, and she was really good about referring us over to other business. She told us about the Fashion Market. Did I get that right? Fashion Market? Fashion Corner. She said, you got to go in there. So we did. Because from the outside, and it was awesome. But this right here would make Sunnyside worth a special trip. Always promote your best ofs. And by the way, I probably missed 2 or 3, didn't I? That are really good, that might not be on here. We were only here for 4 days. We didn't have a whole lot of time, but that right there is awesome. I mean, it's just awesome. So, what next? Create the Destination Sunnyside team. Don't even wait for a 501c3. I would love to see, you're getting a new city manager at the beginning of the year. You've got your interim city manager sitting right back here. You got council people here. I would absolutely go create that team today, just volunteers. And say, you know what, we have a little bit of lodging tax monies. Maybe we should start creating the best of Sunnyside. Those businesses are already here. And you want them to succeed because success breeds success. And I may have missed a few, but that's a pretty good start. And so it might be a little bit bigger than that. I would do that immediately. I would go through, there's 105 suggestions here. Other than a wayfinding system, and maybe some elements of a plaza, there was nothing in there that was expensive. And 3/4 of those were things that businesses needed to do, not the city. I'd do a wayfinding system. I'd create a plaza somewhere downtown. You know what? Behind Centennial Square, there used to be a couple buildings and they're now gone. Does the city own it or is it private? But what you could do is say, you know what you could do? Go to the private parties, if it's one or two, whatever. Could we lease this to you for $1 a month? It'll fall into city insurance. I would go lay down paver stones in there, and then put food trucks and put activities right there. You already own it. I'm talking at Centennial Plaza, the gravel area behind it. Just lease it for $1 a month. Let it fall into city's insurance area, put down paver stones. And if they're going to build something there, you can always lift up paver stones, move them over somewhere else. What I want you to do is just bring downtown to life. Just bring it to life. Let people come and hang out there. And if you let people hang out there, pretty soon it's going to be a gathering place. And this isn't about Hispanic versus, non-Hispanic or anybody. This is just the community as a whole. And I think if you do this, you could go through this. Then you could say, he did 105 suggestions. I mean, like the first 20 were about wayfinding. It's easy to narrow this down and do the low-hanging fruit stuff. It's about making something happen. So, I'm done. What do you want to be known for? Sunnyside, what do you want to be known for? The whole area is known for wine, but what else do you want to be known? Do you want to be the place for kids and family? Do you want to be known for microbrews and wineries? I don't know. What do you want to be known for? And particularly in your downtown, develop the wayfinding system so we can find your assets. You have some great shops. Help us find them. And then downtown businesses need to step up and make that, most of them, and make downtown a living room. Activate it. Make it a gathering place. Recruit downtown businesses after you make it a gathering place. And then brighten it up. Sometimes we get in the historical commission thing where these are historic buildings. We can't just graffiti everything and make them colorful. You know what? If you want downtown to survive, you're Sunnyside. Stop with all the gray and brown and beige. Come on, be sunny. And then promote the very best Sunnyside. And in closing, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is today. You know what? You can see Natalie back there. This is the Best Western. You could easily be the showcase. You could teach Prosser and Yakima how to do a plaza, because they don't get it. Prosser's got a great little downtown. You have 3 times the population. There's no reason why you can't do this. I mean, what you have is really cool. It needs some work, but yeah, you got great anchor tenants. I mean, you got great little businesses and you want them to succeed. So, with that, I'm done. So, does anybody have any questions? Now, this is being filmed, and hopefully we got that on film. Here's what's going to happen. I am sending to the city by Monday, probably over the weekend, this physical presentation. So you're going to get it. You're going to get to Kyle. We're going to get him, or to Lander, whoever. We're going to get you the physical presentation here, which is done in Apple Keynote. We're going to save it as PowerPoint. We will save it as a PDF with, that was 400 and some 35 slides or something. But we're going to save it with 4 slides per page, 6 slides per page, so you'll have a PDF. Because for you, how many of you are elected officials here? 1, 2 of you, okay? You were elected to be all things to all people. Your downtown can't be about all things to all people. It needs to be about kids' family. It needs to have a focus. But here's the other thing is, I can say things that some of you would like to say but can't without paying a political price. I'm just being really honest. This was what we saw. It doesn't mean what everybody's going to see, but this is what we saw. Our first impressions were oh my gosh, what are we going to tell them? But then when we started digging deeper, we saw good schools. We saw nice neighborhoods. We didn't see blight. We saw a few spots of it. But we thought this town really has some great potential. But right now, you're a pass-through between Richland and Yakima, and that's what you need to stop. And you got to get them off the Yakima Valley Highway. Yeah, you got Mom's Candy Apples and a couple of places there, and I probably missed a couple. There was a lot of Mexican restaurants we would have loved to eat in that looked ultra authentic, but we just didn't have the time. But what you have is all the potential. But promote your best does, because success breeds success. I want her to succeed so well. We just want her to do really well. And the events, I mean, we keep going, I wonder if we can ever time to come back to one of your events that you produce there. I mean, because she does some pretty awesome stuff. And by the way, I just said, boy, I'd like to see to help her. And do you see what she did? She goes, I'd be happy to help anybody. There's so many of your retailers, they just don't understand about retail displays. I mean, what she's done, and we just saw it for Christmas. I'm sure she makes it look different for Easter and Valentine's Day and everything else. When you have talent like that, you got to use them. Her background is interior design. Did I get that right? I mean, the talent's here. Even the graffiti art, the talent's here. Put it to use. So, any other questions? Any? You're good? What's that? So what will happen with this is we want, the video is yours. It's going to be 2 hours and 15 minutes long, but that video you can put on YouTube. You could even, and here's what you do, for a business that you think, because you know what? I'm preaching to the choir here. The business that needs to see this weren't here. But you can say, hey, on the YouTube channel or on YouTube or on your website, here's the video. If you go to 1 hour and 3 minutes, you'll see where he talked about your business. See, I can go home with my tail tucked between my legs. You can't. So sometimes I'll say things that, and by the way, you drive by all this stuff all the time. You probably don't even notice the stuff. You're probably thinking, what an idiot. He doesn't know where downtown is. Because you live here, you know where it is. It's easy. But you know, for us, after a couple of days, it was easier for us to get on the freeway than it was to come up and try to figure out how to get to downtown from the Best Western. You know, and that's what you don't want. So, you know what? 2 things. We went into merchants in downtown and said, you know, we hope you'll come Friday morning to this little presentation. We're doing it so that you can, if you open at 10, you can leave a little early. Totally fine. And most of them just said, whatever. Good luck with that. I never saw so much apathy in the downtown ever. But everybody else we met, from the wineries to Mom's Candy Apples to everybody else we met, ultra friendly and genuinely thankful that we were here in Sunnyside spending money. Whether it's the little El Valle, you know, the Mexican restaurants, wherever we ate, they were generally thankful. And so when they said, thank you so much for coming, they actually meant heartfelt. And that is testament to your people. And so I think what you have is awesome. And I think that there's, other than wayfinding and doing a plaza, and even the plaza doesn't have to be expensive, bringing downtown to life, be great. I want you to pack as much stuff in downtown. If you can get people, if you can make that your living room, your retailers will come back. And it'll be really cool. Because future downtowns, we're moving away from Macy's to Etsy. You know what's coming back in downtowns? The butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. And I'm not kidding. That's what works in downtowns. You're never going to outcompete. You know, I had a couple people say, well, you know, Roger, what killed downtown was Walmart. That's not true. Amazon did more to kill downtown than Walmart. Because Walmart doesn't sell what she sells. Walmart doesn't sell what Snipes sells. Or what those 2 breweries, I mean, they might sell local wine. See what I mean? It's a totally different thing. And so downtown does not compete with Walmart, and downtown does not compete with Amazon. Because it's Etsy. It's those kinds of neat shops. Yes? So Yes. And what I would do is I would create a 501c3 that is the destination Sunnyside. I'd create a 501c3. Or take the Chamber's old, well, I don't, from what I read, the Chamber's, they lost it. But I would create one. Here's the challenge with Chambers. Chambers of Commerce promote their members, and we need you to promote them whether they're members or not. As a city, you cannot use lodging taxes just to promote a club or an organization. So the challenge I have with Chambers of Commerce is they tend to promote their members. That's why you join, and we need you to promote people that are good even if they're not chamber members. Because you, as a city council person, you represent everybody, member or not. So if you create this destination, this little 501c3 destination Sunnyside team, and you put downtown people on it and everything, there's your nonprofit. And as a nonprofit, it can get money. It can use lodging taxes. It can, you could even use your lodging tax advisory committee for it right now. But we want this to be about, remember one thing that's really important. If you don't hang out in your own town, neither are visitors. So this is always about community development first, and you'll win with tourism development. But when it comes to wayfinding, you could use probably a third of your wayfinding system could come from that if you have those money in reserve, because part of that's tourism. Now, signs that promote hospitals and police and fire, just remember lodging tax advisory dollars must be used for the promotion and development of tourism. It's state law. It's state law, and I know state law really well because I was here. We've kind of loosey-goosed it a little bit. But it's still used for the promotion and development of tourism. Wayfinding is one of those things. But sometimes I see, I gave people in Eastern Washington a bad time for using lodging tax monies to do their community pool, which is actually illegal. So, and we read online that there's been a little bit controversies about those monies here. But that's not why we're here. We want you, this is about your locals first, and if you can get your locals to hang out in your downtown, so will visitors. They'll follow you. Fantastic. Yeah. Oh, the picture of those guys, the owners, they all have their own cool names, their website. I mean, we just fell in love with Sunnyside because the people we met were, or saw, yeah. Oh, yeah. And when we talked to Codin, that actually is his name. He told us that he'd pull up an iPad and show us where Rattlesnake Ridge is, show us the wineries, where they grow, the type. I mean, it was just a wealth. The three of us, we were there like going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yeah, I mean, it was just, so the people we met were just flat out amazing. And we want these businesses to do better. That's economic development. Sometimes it's these little businesses. But I think doing that, 501, you're right, you do need some nonprofit. I'm not against chambers of commerce, but the other challenge with Chamber of Commerce, they try to be all things to all people, and the average executive director in Chamber of Commerce spends 80% of his or her time raising money and dealing with membership issues rather than doing the things that could make the downtown better. So creating the destination Sunnyside would create a nonprofit that doesn't need an office or anything. It would have that board that would make up of city people and economic development and retailers and merchants. I would make sure, I always keep it to like less than 13 people. I would make sure 7 of them are private sector and 6 are public sector, so it's weighed more to private sector. And say, we want you to take this. And even before you create the 501c3, that could take 6 months to do. But just create that team and say, we want to meet once a month. Let's go through this assessment. In the next 90 days, we'll see you later. She's got to go open up. Yeah, she does awesome. Okay, with that, you're free to go. Thank you so much for coming out this morning.